First things first, guys. How are you?
Very good.
Very well, yeah. Rested, finally.
It's good to hear. It's well, we kind of touched upon it earlier, but is that difficult to come by to get rest these days?
It can be. It's going to get a lot worse than this. So yeah, this is only the beginning. So
Yeah. I'm learning basic meditation techniques at the moment. Just waiting for that time.
yeah.
So I'm going to need them.
Well, before we get to the album and what is going to make you very busy in not too long, is I saw a picture of you. I think it was shopping at a record store in Cambridge in the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
What is one of the latest records either one of you has bought?
That was the last time I think I went record shopping, and I bought a Keith Jarrett record of him playing organ.
Okay.
What else did I get on that trip? Oh, a couple of McCoy Tyner records as well that I hadn't had. Yeah.
And I don't know if you're both very much record enthusiasts, but what are you looking for? And for instance, why did you pick those records?
With Keith Jarrett, I mean, I'm always kind of trying to find a particular recording that I heard once that I'm not sure which one it was, you know. So I'll pick up live Keith Jarrett records just to see if it's on there, pretty much. And it's just one of those things that maybe I'll find it in 10 years' time or whatever, you know, and it'll be a good day. And McCoy Tyner is just pretty solidly great records, yeah, even if I'm not sure which one it is, yeah.
And when you listen to these records, and especially new records, does it influence your creative process? Does it?
It's nice to listen to sit down and listen to a record from start to end. I think that always helps with framing what we're doing. I think, you know, to hear something complete, yeah, it's always like always how you used to hear music, and it reminds you of like what we're trying to do, yeah, somewhat.
And sonically, then, are you looking out because you do like to use, let's call it unconventional in instrumentation? So are you looking for certain sounds, or are you taking certain sounds from here and there, or can it be anything that influences?
I think I get the same sense of satisfaction finding a record that I didn't know anything about prior to buying it, and then putting it on and finding out that I really like it.
Right.
And I get the same feeling from finding the potential in something that is a little bit unusual. And I think for a lot of our work to date, it's always been about finding sounds that excite us and are interesting and a bit different.
And I read that you said about the new album that and I think this is true for each project you do, but that you kind of want to start with a blank slate. Am I right in saying that?
Yes, I mean, I don't think we ever want to feel like we're kind of on a certain path that means we would have to do a certain one thing or another. And so the idea of starting from scratch is very appealing, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting time.
I'm just going to try and edit that out because I don't think I can ask them to stop. Is that a difficult? Does it feel like starting over in a sense?
It's a little bit like when you say, you know, how would you, if you go back to another situation and do it again, you know, you don't want to do that, and so you come to square one, but you're a little bit wiser, I guess, about through the things that you've learned along the way of making records and what you find exciting about the process still. Yeah.
It's like getting a new laptop every time, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you touched on something interesting, which is that technology keeps on moving, and then I believe there were certain synths that had an effect on this album. So is that important to keep up with what's out there in terms of technical possibilities?
Yes and no. Like we're quite into gear, so it's always interesting to see what is coming out and what's going on. But actually, the the equipment we used to write this record is all from kind of late 70s to the mid 80s, so it's like it was kind of going backwards in time because there was something about that equipment that was exciting to us, and trying to make music that was about now and about the future with equipment that was older and that had a certain quality that we were finding exciting.
Well, because I believe they were both Korg synthesizers. Was that the beginning of what would become the album when you discovered those synthesizers?
They're both essential to the record, and also to the live show as well, because we're playing a lot of the old songs with those synths now as well, and also all the new material as well. So they're kind of invaluable to this stage of our sort of career.
Do you remember what the starting point was that kind of set the album in motion, or the creative process for the album?
We tend to try and not to build too much of a concept or a story before we start writing music, and try and see through making lots of ideas what seems to be the story that is coming out, or what would be a possible way to go with it. There are definitely things that we wanted to try stylistically and kind of theoretically a bit, and so it was less about kind of the fact that this synth is a Korg. It's more that it had a certain interface or a certain attitude about it that we were kind of was appealing to us.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's been a couple of years since your previous album. So when did everything start again? Was there a moment that you thought, okay, now we have to kind of think about?
We took about a year out after we did some pretty hard touring from the last record, and then about a year of just messing about really, and then
was that needed? Was that much needed?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and just sort of refresh everything a little bit and come back in with a new appetite and a new interest in having something to say, and feeling like we had something to say.
You have to separate yourself from the thing that you do, sometimes.
Right.
And so we needed that time to kind of unleash ourselves from the thing that you're trying to build or whatever.
Right.
And then after a while, there's this kind of quiet dissatisfaction with the fact that you're not doing it. So there's just a point where you go, I don't know what it is, but something's not quite right, and gradually we kind of got led down the idea of, we should be making another record. Yeah.
But so in this period, did you notice anything? Because like you say, it is a moment of reflection in a way. You look back at what you're doing. So did you notice anything about what you were doing and where you wanted to go?
I think when we came to write music again and be a bit more concentrated about it, you always kind of have a reaction to what you've done before, and that influences what you find exciting moving forward. And through playing, I guess, a lot of gigs, and through what we were enjoying about that process, that had kind of informed us that we kind of wanted to move in a different direction, which was much more direct and stripped back, less about details, and more kind of trying to harness a kind of energy that we got from being on stage, and that a lot of records that we were listening to kind of had as well. And so that was like a really good starting point, was how do we shift into this another space that is kind of engaging physically. Yeah.
And what answer did you find to that question?
Well, we in a studio setting, one thing we did was kind of really reduce the amount of kind of sounds that were in there. It was a much more reduced palette than on previous records. So we kind of, when we needed a space in a song would need filling, we'd go back to the same instrument and say, how can we squeeze more out of this, Or when there was a space in a song, we'd say, we'd try and write the song without worrying too much about the finished article. This was the first record that we did kind of demos for as well,
Okay.
where the songs changed a lot and were recorded more than once sometimes and that kind of thing. So,
So a much more open or
yeah,
free
absolutely.
approach.
Yeah.
What was this? Because obviously, what kind of happens when you make a couple albums and they do well? So what was it? Was it? Did it feel like a risk, or did it like an element of danger doing it that way?
I think that's the good thing about waiting 4 years is that it doesn't seem like anyone cares. So it's yeah, I'm not even sure. I wasn't sure our managers really cared what we were doing. So it's just if you leave it long enough, then people will just kind of give you a bit of space. Yeah.
And well, do you remember what the first track was that kind of came together?
Probably 4 Year, 1 Day.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Initial idea.
Yeah, there's a few that have been around for ages, and you think I can't quite finish this, but it's just still here, and you can't quite move on from it. You know, that first track on the album is a funny one because it was probably the first one that was started and the last one that was finished, so it was kind of bookends the whole thing. What else came together pretty well? I would say this track Delta was one of the kind of another one that took a while to get done, but it probably was one of the first ones to get completed. And I remember when we did the keyboard part for it was a moment of like, right, that's what I was aiming for. Yeah, like that was the first time I thought, oh, I got that thing that I was trying to get. Yeah, somewhat.
And so does that work then as a catalyst for what you're working on afterwards?
It definitely gives you need those moments of encouragement. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.